has hired Eric Holder in order to investigate claims that there is widespread sexual harassment and misogyny at the company. Now, this all occurred after one of their top engineers left the company and then proceeded to write a blog about her experience during her one-year stint there. Susan Fowler is the engineer, and she wrote a very long piece explaining in a very detailed way what occurred. She alleges that on her first day on her new team, her boss propositioned her for sex over company chat. By the way, she claims that she has screenshots of this. When she reported the incident to HR, she says he did not lose his job because it was his first offense, and the man was a, quote, high performer. Later on, she had, lunch with a bunch of women who worked at the company, and she was surprised to find out that that wasn't the first time he had done it. He had done the same thing to other women, and they had also complained to HR, and they got the same answer. Well, it's his first offense. He's a high performer, so we're going to let this go. But if it happens again, I
mean, if that's true, and we'll see about the memo. I mean, if her recounting of the memo is true, that they said it's his first offense and he's a high performer, that does suggest that there would be a circumstance where they're like, yeah, it was his first offense, but he's not that good at his job, so we'll fire him. Right.
Yeah.
So which suggests a degree of an unprincipled application of that. They should simply say, it's his first offense. It's been put, if that's how they want to handle it. It's his first offense. We take it seriously. It's been put in his file. And if there's another transgression, there'll be further discipline. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Not, he's really good at his job, so we're going to give him 3 chances. Because theoretically, that shouldn't make any difference.
Exactly. That's a great point. Also, when she pointed out that there were few women engineers in her part of the company, she also alleges that an HR representative replied with a story about how sometimes certain people of certain genders and ethnic backgrounds were better suited for some jobs than others, so I shouldn't be surprised by the gender ratios in engineering.
Okay, again, if that's right, then that is literally the worst HR representative in the history of the world. That's an HR representative who needs to go to HR.
Yeah. Also, the CEO of Uber has spoken out against this, saying that he takes these allegations very seriously and wants to do something about it immediately. He says what she describes is abhorrent and against everything Uber stands for and believes in. It's the first time this has come to my attention, so I have instructed Liane Hornsey, of our new Chief Human Resources Officer, to conduct an urgent investigation into these allegations. And again, he's taking it so seriously that the Uber board, which includes Arianna Huffington, has essentially decided they're going to hire Eric Holder to investigate this, and Arianna Huffington herself is going to be part of the investigation in some way, which I find interesting. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the kind of job that that former attorneys general get. Richard Thornburg led the CBS News investigation into Dan Rather, which was, as it turned out, if you actually read that report, not that vicious to Dan Rather. But this is a good job this is good. That means I'm glad to see Uber would appear to take it seriously. And if Eric Holder does his job, then I imagine that Travis Kalanick might, I don't know, but he better be true he better be telling the truth when he said this is the first time it's come to my attention, because
that's true.
If it isn't the first time it's come to his attention, then that is probably, that's the kind of thing that in other circumstances has been unsurvivable.
Yeah, Uber has been involved in a bunch of missteps recently, and I don't know. I don't know if it's all fair criticism of what's going on inside the company, but I do know that there are some issues in terms of oversight and evaluations of some of their drivers. There have been incidents involving some of their drivers sexually assaulting or allegedly raping some of the passengers. That's not like a widespread problem, but it's happened enough over the past several years where it does raise a few red flags. And that's not to completely blame Uber, but there should be enough of a background check, enough oversight to ensure that, you minimize those types of risks as much as possible. But I think that this kind of behavior happens at every office, right? And it's not a question of whether or not it happens. In my opinion, it's a question of how upper management or HR deals with it. And so you shouldn't get propositioned with sex. like your first week working at a company or ever while you're working in a
I was going
company.
to say a couple of months, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Get to test the waters a little bit.
Right.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Find out where all the bathrooms are, learn where the best places to go to lunch. Then you get sexually harassed.
It's just.
You know, I wonder whether it happens of course it happens everywhere. And it's odd because I'm sure what I'm about to say might be stupid, it's just that it is wrong. Because I'm curious whether some of these things happen more at some of these tech startups because they're run by, I'm not knocking engineers, I'm knocking young people. Because they're run by people who don't know better, and they've come upon money so quickly. We see the same thing frequently with athletes or child prodigies. There's sort of this rush of success comes, and I don't know Uber's full story here, and maybe these guys are in their 30s and 40s, but we know that the sexual harassment in Silicon Valley, that there was an issue because so many of these companies, I suspect they were like, hey, we went right from college and we're so smart and we kept up that same atmosphere, whereas obviously, we know there was sexual harassment for decades and decades at American companies where guys were much older. But we're hitting a sweet spot where you imagine there's a world of 40 to 50-year-old executives who were just grown up and know better.
Yeah.
And so maybe that has something to do with why we've seen this story repeated occasionally at some of these startups. Because I'm curious whether these guys they have a great idea and they're so smart and they turn it into a lot of money, but maybe they don't get the running a business part of it. Or
Yeah,
the
they are
grown-up part of
young.
it. Yeah. I don't know.
That's an interesting hypothesis.
Yeah, it's nothing more than a hypothesis. But.
Yeah, but I do like that they're investigating it. And look, just because someone makes accusations doesn't mean that it's automatically true, which is why investigations are so important. And so hopefully they will do a thorough investigation and figure out what's going on so they create a safe work environment for everyone, whether it's a man or a woman.
That's right.
Become a TYT member and you get all the shows on the network, including Aggressive Progressive, the most progressive show there is anywhere. Check it out. tytnetwork.com/join.